back to one. Yep.
And that was one of Christopher's, I guess, statements when in the email. He was like, "Oh, I've seen him do like 28 takes, no problem."
What he said. That's what he said to us too, and we're like, "Yeah, but you have no idea what we went through."
That's true. Yeah, there were so many times.
Easy for him to say.
One more. We're gonna do one more.
We're like, yeah,
okay.
Right.
What's up, everyone? This is episode number 75. I am your host, Manny Moonraker, and you're listening to UFO Buster Radio. And as promised, we have today on the episode Aaron Leddick and Alycia Tracy from the film The Alienators. And we're going to jump into the show. You might have noticed that there's a rating on this episode. A rating of explicit. It's not because of the interview, not at all. But we have a special treat at the end of the podcast within our outro. And I can tell you this much, you're not going to want to miss it. As a matter of fact, when you get to the end of the podcast, you might even want to turn up the volume a little bit. Just to give you a forewarning, maybe some advice, tips and tricks, whatever you want to call it. Lower your windows, pump up the volume. And I guess if you're in Cali and you got some switches, switch them on and off. I don't know. Whatever it is you do. But if you're a fan of the band Tenacious D, you'll wait to the end of the podcast. You're not going to want to miss it. And now, the interview. Okay, folks, just like I promised, take two with Alycia Tracy and Aaron Leddick from the Alienators movie. Guys, thank you for coming back again.
Of course.
No problem. We understand. Take two. We love it.
Yeah, take two. And as a matter of fact, I was just speaking to them what Christopher Farley told me, and these guys are professionals at what they do, and they've even done up to how many takes? 28?
I think the longest we ever did, the most takes we ever did was 35.
Oh, my.
Yeah, all one long take, each take about 10 minutes because we didn't do any cutaways or anything. And it got to the point where we started taking the number of takes off the marker just to keep morale up.
It wasn't like two people sitting at a coffee table and chatting. It was... You know, people screaming at things and running around like crazy, and so it was exhausting, but fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and it wasn't always the actors' fault because whenever, and I'm sure your listeners have heard of other shows and stuff where they do these big long takes, and then you have anything can go wrong between the camera being slightly out of focus, a light not being in the right place, guy forgets to turn the sound on. I mean, any number of an airplane goes overhead, you know, and then you're like you're back to one.
Yeah, that is the worst, especially all those noises, airplanes, cars, motorcycles. Terrible.
Yeah, and even being up in the mountains, there were certain things we just couldn't get away from. So,
right.
You know, it happened. So we would all just take a deep breath and go back to one.
So, as we did last time, I think it'll be important just for people to get to know you guys, you know, before we get into the movie business. And a good way to start that, like we did, is kind of, we'll start with Alycia and let us know, how did you get into the business?
Yes. Well, I was always performing, even as a little kid. Like I had said, I had been a competitive swimmer. I was a cheerleader. I was in the band. I was in an orchestral band. I was in the I was always performing, always doing something. And when I got to college, absolutely fell in love with theater. So went on to do theater and do the, you know, good old Shakespeare and the Shakespeare festivals and, you know, made my way to Los Angeles like you do. And it happens. We tend to migrate. Had watched Chris's other film, Adam 9, and liked it so much I went looking for him and found his website, and he had an interview that he had done about the movie that was up, and I was really impressed with his knowledge and how he presented himself. So I just emailed him to tell him that, and if he ever wanted to get together and discuss ideas, not thinking that he ever would, really. Right. And about a month later, he did, and we got together for a few margaritas and started tossing ideas around, and the next thing I know, he handed me the script that's now known as The Alienators, and I got it to page 18, and I remember this because it's a very specific line that Vic Singe, the lead character, says, where I had to walk away from the script, call Chris, and go, I don't know what I'm reading, but I love it. We should totally do this.
Do you recall what that line was?
I do, but I'm not going to say it. You'll have to go and watch it.
There you go.
Try to figure out which one it is.
Build the suspense, yes.
And he says so many things.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
That are so wrong. It'll be very difficult. We should have a contest to see who can figure out which line in the script it was that got me to say yes.
Okay.
I think that would be fun.
Oh, my gosh.
That would be great. Now, you did mention Adam 9, and I actually saw trailers for that movie, and that had so many great special effects in it.
It does, as does The Alienators. We have a lot of great special effects in there, and that's one thing that Chris is like, a one-man band when it comes to movie making, because not only does he know how to write a script and tell a story, he knows how to shoot it, he knows how to edit it, he knows how to put in special effects, graphics, engineer sounds. I think he came up with something like over 300 original sound effects for just The Alienators.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So, he does the same thing here that he did with Adam 9. And Adam 9 is like completely different than The Alienators. It's that great throwback, the 1950s superhero comic story, comic book story. And then you have something completely different here with The Alienators. So it just points to his versatility and how prolific he is as a filmmaker.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, you had a interesting, introduction into how you got involved with the Alienators movie. Well, let's hear about that.
Yeah. So, of course, Miss Alycia here is the person to thank for that. But I, kind of a similar story to Alycia, as most people, was doing high school and college theater in Colorado. And in college, knowing full well I was going to move out to LA after I graduated, got a degree in broadcast journalism, which I never used, and then ended up in LA pursuing this crazy dream. But Alycia and I ended up meeting in acting class, and with that, we just built a friendship. Because it's such a great. If you got a good acting school, you have a great community there, and so ours was definitely that. And so we got to know each other and be friends and be familiar with each other's work. And she just approached me at one point and said, do you want to come do this table read for a script? And I said, absolutely. I hadn't even read the script or anything yet. She said, it's about aliens. So I said, sounds fun. Sounds great. And showed up for the reading, having read it on my own a few times, looking at this character going, holy cow, Scott and I are the same. In so many ways. Yeah, so true. Yeah, so Alycia, she nailed it as far as what my character as Aaron and what I can portray, what we call our zero casting, which is just what you present when you walk in a room. Okay. And it lined up in so many ways, because Scott's not the coolest guy in the world, so I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but I'm pretty similar to him. So we did the reading, and it was great. And Derek, actually, the gentleman who plays Vic Singe, wasn't even involved in the reading, but Alycia and I were, and a few other people helped out and read it. It went really well. I had a blast doing it. And then a couple weeks later, Chris calls me up and asks if I want to actually be in the movie. And so I did the table read without that even being obviously that's the dream when you do a table read, but you never know. So it really best case scenario, big time.
Yeah, and I kind of did that on purpose because I knew that Chris was looking at another guy that he was very interested in for the part, but I knew Aaron was right. So I invited Aaron to the table read and not the other guy. Because sometimes, you know, when you do know better and you have that ability, you want to do that because the director can't always see it because they're looking at the whole picture. Right. So they can't always see that specific thing until you put it right in front of them. Mm-hmm. And I knew enough to do that. So that was pretty much settled after that table read.
Yeah.
And I will say that Aaron is the cool version of Scott. He is the cool version.
Phew.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up because Scott Winby was really kind of like the reserve ufologist, right? Like he totally believed, but in the topic of ufology, this was sort of new to you, wasn't it?
To me, yes. Absolutely. It was very much one of those situations where, you know, like everybody had seen the classics like Close Encounters and E.T. and whatnot, but as far as actually studying the ufology and that whole world, I had no knowledge of any of that. So jumping in was a huge eye-opener. And of course, you got to do a lot of studying because even if people don't find out that you don't know anything about a subject, it's just going to inform your character and your decision making within the character. The more research that you do and the more knowledge you have. So, yeah, I jumped in and learned about people like David Jacobs and Whitley Strieber and doing I didn't even know that hypnotic regression was a thing, let alone that there were specialists doing it, and that was a central point in our movie. So just such a trip getting to learn about all of that, and ultimately I'd say a lot of it gave me the creeps.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not into this and you haven't really looked into it, when you get it all at one time, it's like, what in the world's going on?
Yeah, and why aren't more people worried about this?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Yes, we should be afraid.
And I did... Oh, gosh, I hope not. I hope it doesn't come down that way. But yeah, like what Aaron is saying is that I think for most of us involved, except for perhaps Chris, who had already delved into this and has been sort of a lifelong studier of such events, we had the typical, sort of Hollywood version of what, an invasion or aliens or abduction was all about. And then you start doing this, and particularly for Aaron, because he had all the technical stuff. I mean, yes. He's got the X-ray light vision, not vision like his eyes, but he's got the special light.
I said, wait a minute, I missed that.
He's got the U-meter. I mean, he's got all of these technological terms and, the way it's all set up and all the actual investigation and sort of science behind it, that actual ufologists use to understand this world all fell to Aaron to, sort of exposit in the film in a way that was believable. So if he didn't believe it, nobody else was going to believe it. So he learned a lot more than I did.
Yeah,
definitely. What's interesting about that is that according to Christopher Farley, your character, Aaron, really wasn't meant to have a screen presence. But I guess you made an impression. Yeah,
I guess so. The original script, Scott is basically documenting the entire thing. That's my reason for being there, because I'm so excited about the whole possibility of aliens making contact with us that I want to capture it all in film. So my character was initially supposed to be behind the camera the entire time working that. And through the course of just making the movie, Chris kept adding things here and there where I got to be in front of the camera and getting to basically do these expository moments and filling in the blanks of he'd shoot a bunch of things and go, we need something here. I'll have Scott be in front of the camera, filling in this little bit of information and giving it to us so we can kind of bridge to the next part. And that just kept happening a ton. So I went from being in front of the camera none to, I don't know, maybe 30-40% of the movie.
I would say at least half.
Yeah?
At least half. Yeah. And I knew, and see, this is, again, another great testament to Aaron as well, because I don't know many actors who would take a part knowing full well that they're not going to be seen on film, ever. Like, that was the initial thing. Like, we're going to hear this guy, and he's going to be the camera character, if you will. But Aaron jumped on board, started doing it, and I finally looked at Aaron and I said, you're going to be in front of this camera before this is over. I promise you. And sure enough, and that's because Aaron showed up every day, on time, enthusiastic, doing whatever he could to help. He brought his wife on board. She came in and did all the artwork and the set decoration. It became a family affair. And, you know, she's an amazing actress in her own right, but she's also very multi-talented on anything when it comes to makeup, wardrobe, all of that kind of stuff. And the next thing you know, it just sort of evolved into what we now have, which is amazing, because I think Scott is a great juxtaposition to Vic.
Giving him more credit than he deserves.
I know.
With a fancy name like that.
I was going to say, calling him by his real name, Victor, to Vic. And then, you know, and something that we had talked about before is sort of the polarity, which, Manny, you brought up in what happens often in this community is sort of this polarity between the believers and the skeptics.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, and before I mentioned Mitch Stover, who is the lead of the CDU, and the difference between he and Vic, and then between Vic and Scott. And it just kind of all plays off of everything very nicely in sort of bringing that world a little more to light.
It becomes very necessary to have, like you're saying, that juxtaposition, so that it's not all one character just becoming this thing that just beats everybody over the head with their point of view and their personality. Right. It tapers it, and it can be dealt with a little easier, I think.
Yeah, and we've all had those relationships as well, where you just have somebody in your group who's just sort of this loudmouth, skeptic who talks over everybody, and then that one person that just always seems to be able to bring them down a peg or two, and you know, by being sweet and innocent, you know.
Exactly. And one of the things that I thought that the film really portrayed was those huge personalities that kind of, as you say, the ufology community, they kind of take over everything. Regardless of whether or not they support the community or not, they're basically in it for themselves. You know, it's their way or the highway.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can see that when you watch certain things on the History Channel. I can't remember, what is it, the Ancient Aliens?
Yes.
And all of the people that they interview with that, I'm like, wow, those are some big personalities. So it makes sense when you have somebody, if you know that and understand that, or even just remotely interested in what we're now talking about, you'll see that because you've got Vic Singe. And then, of course, you've got our hypnotic regression therapist, played by the wonderful Erica Bernard, who comes in with all of her flash and style and does her job so beautifully. And you do have all these sort of big egos and characters all in this one movie. And so, that's what makes it a fun watch.
Yeah, so Vic Singe was played by Derek Reckley.
Yes.
And so how was it? Did he ad-lib some of the lines, or were these all written into the script?
Most of them were written, and probably written, and you know, I can't remember right off the top of my head who said this. It was either Steven Spielberg or Francis Ford Coppola, that you end up making a movie on the hood of a car. So you come in with a script, which is your blueprint, and then as things go on, you start to add, change, and do all of those sorts of things. And as specific as Chris was about the script and the way things were handled, he was not afraid to change things up. Maybe change a line here. I'd say, hey, it'd be funny if we said this, or he'd do that. So most of it was very much scripted. I would say Aaron probably got away with more ad-libbing than anybody else.
Oh, really?
Because he was just able to do it. It would just come out and we would die laughing. Like it ruined so many takes because of Aaron. It would just come out. He didn't even mean to, and it would just happen. And then Chris would be like, oh, that's good. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Awesome. So, you know, there was a lot of give and take in both ways. Although Chris was very good at keeping us all on script, we would definitely have the opportunities to go and play around.
Right.
Yeah, there along the lines of getting to play around and such, there's with a lot of the promotional stuff we've been doing for the movie, there's a bunch of just little videos that from the Alienator website and their Facebook page that they've been releasing that aren't even in the movie, but they're just little couple minute snippets that were things that I was like, I have some free time, I have some downtime, I want to go make this video log series that I just put together out of wanting to have fun and explore the character more. And you can see a ton of those online. Yeah. And they were for me, just some of the most fun that I got to have, because there was, again, a ton of that freedom to play.
Right. Yeah, and there's even some of that on YouTube also.
Yes.
Yes, I've seen some of those.
Yeah. So just to be clear, what he means by downtime is when we weren't using Aaron, Scott wasn't on set or being filmed, he had his little flip camera and he would just disappear into the woods, make this stuff, and then bring it back and give it to Chris like a present, you know? It was hilarious. And of course, you know, you only have so much time to tell a story. We could probably just do a whole TV show with Scott as the main lead investigating all of this stuff based on what he did in his downtime on the movie set.
Right. So, all the behind the scenes.
All the behind the scenes stuff. And some of these things have already gotten over 20,000 views and shares and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch this now, you know, start to evolve and be out there in the market for consumption and see how people respond to it. And it's very fun.
So, Alycia, from your perspective on ufology, you're a bit of a sci-fi fan.
Oh, yeah. I've always been. I started, you know, you start out as a kid looking up at the stars, and I always did that, you know, and my family watched Star Trek, and then I went on to Next Generation, and of course Voyager, which is my all-time favorite. I think that's the best of the series. I think Gene Roddenberry is amazing. Right. And like I said before, I wish I was cool enough to be a Trekkie, but I'm not. I'm just not that cool. But I love it when I go to a Comic-Con or something like that, and I see, or anything, and I see what these people can do with their costumes and their languages. And I'm just like, wow, what a way to inspire generations of imagination. But I also truly believe that there's sentient life out there somewhere. As big as this universe is, I cannot imagine that we are the only sentient beings in existence. I mean, maybe we don't look like us or whatever, but I don't know if I'll get to find out in my lifetime, but if I do, I hope it's a nice, benevolent meeting. I don't want any of this scary invasion stuff. I think, no War of the Worlds or Independence Day. Give me E.T. Give me E.T. That'll be fine.
So I guess, the one thing we didn't do last time, we didn't get like a synopsis of the movie. So I think you guys would be the best people to kind of let the audience know what is the movie about.
Oh man.
Yeah. What is the movie about?
No, we know what it's about. It's just like who takes the lead.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, it says it all right there. It's like you've got this sort of foul-mouthed, shaggy-haired, skeptic ufologist who stumbles onto a case of a lifetime. And it changes him and his world and everybody around it, everybody involved with it. And it is, because it is mockumentary, I consider it kind of a dark comedy. And that takes this genre and this particular story that we've heard 100 times when you're talking about alien abduction and turns it on its ear ever so slightly at every turn. It's never quite what you expect it to be. So it's not your typical alien abduction movie. I mean, which is clear when you look at the artwork, but and you understand sort of where we're coming from here, that it does just it's a very, I think, unique take and a different approach to telling this story than has been done before. And that's what I really appreciated about it to begin with. Back to you, Aaron. What is your take?
Well, I mean, looking at the movie from the perspective of Scott, I'd say it's the synopsis is two ufologists going on this journey of really getting substantial, real proof of alien existence. And that's where the goal is at the beginning. And then at the end of the story, just having a completely different viewpoint on the whole world of aliens and ufology and just surviving this crazy encounter.
Yeah. And I watched the film, and like I said before in that recording that never happened, that Vic Singe, actually at the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, he's killing me, but towards the end, you see how he matured when it came to ufology in his experience. He was a ufologist at that point. And someone that you can relate to. He was still Vic Singe, even toward the bitter end.
Yes.
But his
personality remained the same, but his belief and the way he took the subject seriously shifted completely.
Exactly.
And just his drive as an individual, as a person, there was tons of growth there. And I think it's critical in storytelling that your characters are in a different place at the end of a movie or a show or anything than they are from the beginning of it. Otherwise, the stagnancy becomes boring.
Exactly.
Yeah, and annoying. And I also think, too, that it just came down to everything, Aaron is saying is correct, that he does make that change, and part of the catalyst of that is the relationship that Vic Singe has not only with Scott, but what develops between he and Jessa. That out of all of this craziness, and as awful as this guy appears to be, he has a heart who falls in love with this very disturbed, sort of broken woman. And so in the middle of all the alien craziness, you have a love story.
Right.
That nobody really sees coming until the end. And I tell you, the whole movie is worth that in sequence of the film. It's just so beautifully done from top to bottom in the finale of the movie, in my opinion. Sort of really just brings it all together right there.
Yeah, and the thing is that we want everyone to know, number one is, I saw the film, I liked it. You guys were in it. You enjoy it. It's your artwork. Mm-hmm. It's your work. Christopher Farley was on here. Of course, he's saying it's a great film. But you guys are not the only ones, because the film won Best Picture at the LA Art House Film Festival. Yes, it did. It also won Audience Choice Award at the Malibu Film Festival. So there's definitely an audience. But this is what I always say. This ain't your mama's X-Files. Right.
No.
You got it.
Perfect.
So it's fine if it's not for everybody. We don't care. We know that that we have an audience out there, and that it is going to be entertaining and enticing as well. Otherwise, the accolades that the film has racked up based on audience participation just wouldn't be there. And of course, we didn't expect that. We didn't know. We knew that what we were doing had a bit of risk to it. And it's not going to be for everyone, but how is it going to play? And then as it started to do well at the festivals and, now a distribution deal, we knew that risk is paying off for us. So,
right.
Yeah.
In addition to that, at the LA Comedy Film Festival, there was also an award given to someone.
Yeah, I think Alycia is being a bit modest and trying to avoid that one. But there was one more award.
I wasn't purposely trying to avoid it.
But since you brought it up,
yes, Best Actress, indeed, at a LA Comedy Film Festival. So again, not expecting anything of the movie, let alone a Best Actress award, I was kind of thrown that it was received from a comedy film festival, because I know that we have the raspberries for a reason, and I didn't know if this was kind of a play on that. So for the audience members who are listening who don't know, we have the Raspberry Awards, which is like for the worst performance ever
right.
in anything. So my part, Jessa, is probably the most serious of all the characters. She's the most troubled, probably the most grounded, if not 6 feet already in the ground at this point. She's just, a hot mess. And so I didn't get to have the kind of play fun that everybody else did. Mine was a very dramatic sort. And so to win at a comedy festival just kind of threw me. But then everybody, including the head of the festival, said, no, this is a good thing, because you were so good, you beat out all of the comedy actors because of your performance. And that's when I went, oh, okay, I see, I got it. That's good, that's great, awesome. I appreciate that. And then I was really kind of humbled by that, because it's like, wow, I wouldn't have expected that. And then I thought you guys were kidding me. So it was great.
So, Alycia, you're also credited as being the producer for the film, and Aaron, associate producer. So do you see maybe in the future, maybe in Alienators 2?
Well, we would have to talk to Chris about that. But we've got a lot of ideas about what can happen. For anybody else that might want to jump on board and take that journey with us, that would be awesome. We'd love to see what else we could do. Chris and I have a lot of things sort of on the books, as they say, with lots of ideas that could happen, not just with the Alienators, but other things in this particular genre specifically. And love to work with everybody that we worked with before as well, because it was just an amazing cast and crew that we had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and low-budget movies work the same exact way as big-budget ones, where it all depends on the success of the film. If it strikes a chord with people and people want more of it, that would be dream come true. Number one was getting to be in movies and getting to do this sort of thing and be a part of this. And then dream come true number two, and what you always hope for, is that the work just begets more work and more opportunities. And Chris, like Alycia said, is so prolific. He has so many ideas. And even within the world of the Alienators, so many ideas that were just busting out that had to be chopped and cut. And so, it's definitely, just like life, there's more after the end of the story. There's so much more, for sure.
Right.
Now, the last time we were on, I asked for a funny story. And the story that I heard was hilarious.
And it never stops being funny, Manny. It never stops being funny. I've heard it 100 times, and it's still just so amazing. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Aaron, I'm going to leave it up to you to tell that story.
Yeah, I love it when we get this question as a group, because it's always, do you guys have any funny stories? And everyone just turns and looks at me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Because, this is one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me in my life. Let alone within the context of this movie.
I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. But not only that, you're both Aaron and Scott. And this is what happened to you.
Yes.
Not Derek and Vic, and not anybody else, but you.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Christopher Farley, the director, and I are just in the backyard with a microphone, and he's just standing there with a clipboard. We're going through a list of lines that we just need for when I'm behind the camera, of just parts to fill in, of thoughts and ideas, of just to kind of fill the world a little more and have more life. And so I'm in his backyard running around with this little recording device going, there's an alien invasion. They're coming for us. Oh my God, what is that? Mm-hmm. Just crazy things like that. But I'm running around his yard screaming. And we're doing this, and it's in the evening. And then all of a sudden, up at the gate by his yard is this bang on the fence. And these guys go, hey, you guys, LAPD, get over here right now. And we're like, what? And Los Angeles police, get over here. And my instant reaction, as Aaron, as Scott, as those two can hardly be separated, is like, holy crap, it's the police. Let's go to them right now. We do everything they say, right? Chris, really, if you watch the movie, the best way to understand Chris is to know that the voice of Vic Singe is Chris if he really didn't care 100% what anybody thought, or if he could get away with saying anything he wanted.
Oh, wow. That puts it in perspective.
Yes. And so in this instance where the police are at his house banging on his fence, he was not having it. And he's like, it's like, no, this is my house. What are you doing here? Go away. No, if you want to come into my house, you can do it like a civilized person or get a warrant or whatever. You don't come banging on my fence and yelling at us for being in my own property. Mm. And I'm sitting there going, Chris, no, stop. It's fine. Let's just go see what they want. We'll talk to them. We'll straighten it out. Right? So we go walking up towards them, and the gate is one of those fences that you can see through. And so when we turn the corner and see it, there are two cops with assault rifles pointed at us. And so, of course, I freak out even more. I'm just like, oh, my gosh, here we go. We're going to get shot. This is it. This is the end. Mm-hmm. And Chris, the entire time walking up to them, is just running his mouth the whole way through, saying everything, going, I want your badge numbers. Who's your superior officer? This is ridiculous. And I'm just going, Chris, please, just do what they want. Just do what they want.
Stop talking.
Yeah. We proceeded to get handcuffed and sat down by these cops, and the whole time Chris is running his mouth, and it was crazy, right? And within moments of all of that and them getting the story from us, all of a sudden, easily 10 more guys, SWAT guys, they were full get-up, come running up the street. And we're like, are you serious? And before that can even sink in, cue the helicopter coming across the horizon.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, there's got to be a better way to spend taxpayer dollars than arresting two people who are trying to make a movie.
I know, right?
Yeah. So it was nuts. So in the same moment, I had the first time ever a gun pointed at me and handcuffed. And then the best part is towards the end of the whole ordeal, the I guess he was like a sergeant or whatever, a top level guy comes walking up, and I can hear them telling the story. Oh, it's just two guys in a backyard. They're just filming a movie and just saying some stuff. And he stops and looks at the other guy and goes, that must have been some really good acting.
See, perfect.
Yep.
Right. So, Aaron, not only when so many actors in this town swear they can't even get arrested, he gets handcuffed and awarded Best Acting from a sergeant at the LAPD.
Yeah.
That's like the best act. Brought out the entire SWAT team and a helicopter.
Based on my performance.
Based on your performance.
Yeah. And you had the courage. You actually stayed in there, because I probably would have ran. Said, later, Chris.
Yeah, right?
I'll check you out later.
No, man, just like Scott, I'm like, there are rules to follow, and if we follow the rules, everyone will be fine. So let's just do that.
Oh
man. Chris called the cops idiots easily 10, 15 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right now I'm seeing a white truck, OJ, and all kinds of,
I know.
Right? I saw all that too. I was like, no, we're not going down that road. We're not doing it.
No.
Well, like OJ, everybody got off, so we're good.
Exactly. There you go.
But no, you can cut that, Manny. I just couldn't help it.
No, the unscripted parts, those are the best parts, the ones that are unscripted. This take, again, you guys are fantastic. Like I was saying before on the other episode, you guys are so engaged, and you really show that not only that you enjoy being part of this project, but this movie is something you really put yourself into. And it shows in the way it's delivering.
Awesome. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and put as many links as I can to the Alienators film, Facebook, YouTube, wherever I can put some links to. But we do have a special treat coming in at the end of the show. an outro song from the film. But I want to say this. This is actually going to be the first UFO Buster podcast that's going to be explicit.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Right. So
we're taking you down. We're taking
you
down
no.
the big
and it's
road.
okay, you know. I enjoy the song. People are going to see the rating beforehand, so, you know.
Okay.
If you
They
have
might
any,
as well know now, right?
Yeah, if you know now. It's going to be the outro. And the name of the song is A Fucking Alien Took My Girlfriend.
Yes, it is.
Did that come out
Yes,
kind of
it
like
is.
unnaturally? It didn't sound like I normally say that.
And it does not. No, hey, you sounded good. It does not sound like something you normally say, so your
Okay.
audience can be rest assured. This is only an exception for you and not the rule.
Right. This is my acting.
But it is a great song. It was written and arranged by John Konesky, who is a member of Tenacious D, which, if any of your audience members are familiar with Tenacious D or are not, that's Jack Black's band that has been around forever. And John is a great guy, and we just liked his stuff and said, hey, we want to do this. Do you want to do this? And he's like, yeah. I think he said, hell yeah. But he jumped in, and he also arranged all of the, and played, I should say, and performed all of the air guitar licks that you will see in the film, which, as I said before, air guitar, you ask? Well, you'll have to watch the film and find out. We've got aliens, we've got air guitar. How could you not want to see this movie? And then you'll hear the song, and it was great. It's great fun. It was when I first got the copy of it, I drove around Los Angeles with my windows down playing this song because it was, I'm a rock and roll girl. I am very much the hard rock girl. And so it was perfect for me to just play as I drove around Los Angeles. It was awesome.
And so I just want to add that the vocals on this track are by Mike Bray.
Yes, that is correct. And our soundtrack as well, because we don't just have rock and roll and air guitar. We do have a movie soundtrack, and that was done by Robert Guglia, who also worked with Chris on Adam 9. He's an amazing orchestral arranger and does beautiful, beautiful music. He's really impressive.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's also available on iTunes, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it is too, yeah.
Well, guys, I thank you again for coming back a second time. I can honestly say this was even better than the first time. So,
yay!
Everyone out
Our
there,
pleasure.
Everyone out there, be sure to go out and watch this film. Check out the links in the description. It's a great movie, great cast. You won't be disappointed.
Thank you so much, Manny. Great talking to you again.
All right, great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye. All right, UFO Buster Land, you've heard from the director. You've heard from two great cast members. And just the way they sound engaged really into this film, I got to tell you that I highly recommend that you watch the film. Check out the links in the description, as I said before. If you don't believe me, check out the trailer. Check out the clips on YouTube, which I'll have a link to the YouTube channel, so you can see a bit of what you're in for. This is Manny Moonraker, and I approve this message. Bigly. Ciao.
Fuck you! You spacefaring son of a bitch! You otherworldly piece of shit! You cocksucking son of a fuck! You just used up the last of your luck! I'ma come up there and kick your ass! Like a locked and loaded galaxy class! On with kick-ass rock and roll! And I'm just drunk enough to make it so. A fucking alien took my girlfriend, and that creepy motherfucker's gonna pay. Yeah, a fucking alien took my girlfriend, and he's gonna get a probe in the egg. There's nothing you can do or say. what you just heard. It's the last thing you're bound to hear. Gonna get you where to finish my beer. A fucking alien took my girlfriend, and that slimy piece of shit is gonna die. Yeah, a fucking alien took my girlfriend. I just gotta fucking ask myself why. Right before I fucking make him fry.